Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit today about wrist aiming versus arm aiming, and I'll just go into my experience with it. I basically have been using a mouse and keyboard for about 2 years or so, maybe a little bit longer. But I always played in what's called like wrist or palm type of aiming, and that's where you basically take your palm and you kind of sit it as a base, and then you grip, and then your movement is all base stationary like this, just back and forth. That's all the movement that you have right there, pretty much. One of the biggest problems that I ran into when I was playing like this is not only accuracy at longer distances, because your sensitivity has to be a lot higher, is that when I would try to move like my crosshairs up, like in Call of Duty or Apex Legends, any kind of like first person shooter, my movement was very limited because I basically only had about a half inch or so of play. Now, if you watch players like SHROUD, Tfue, guys like that, you'll notice a lot of their cams, you'll see them move the mouse all over the place. You'll see this nice big huge mouse pad right here, and the reason for that is because you can have a lower sensitivity with higher movement, which is done with your arm, the whole arm. So like the whole arm moves back and forth, and you, so instead of just having this little bitty kind of little back and forth right here, now you have a lower sensitivity but more control, because you're moving like kind of like the X and Y axis is lower in the game. You have more movement and it's smoother. That's pretty much. Now some of the aiming is still going to be a little bit more of the wrist, like kind of like this, but your turnaround, like when you spin really fast, that sort of thing, you'll see a lot of swipe here like this, and then movement real slow, and then when you're kind of walking around real comfortable, wrist, and then you need to turn around, swipe here, back and forth, stuff like that. That's pretty much the one of the biggest keys to aiming in first person shooter games, playing on a mouse and keyboard. And that's one of the reasons why you will see players, like I said, like SHROUD, Tfue, they have incredible aim at long distances and in short distances, because their sensitivity is all right here in the mouse, back and forth like this. It's not contained to a high sensitivity and very slow movement like so. So I have been playing that way though for the longest time, the palm down type of deal, just barely moving up and down. And I would say when I started playing Blackout is really when I started to notice that my long shot was incredibly bad, and that's when I started to get into the whole wrist and arm, moving the whole arm back and forth, and a lower sensitivity to be able to zoom in on those long shots and still be accurate, and then up close, fast movement back and forth to be able to get your turnarounds and your gun aimed down sights quick. So I hope that helps you out. It took me a long time to figure it out. Believe it or not, there's not a whole lot of videos on it. There's a lot of Counter-Strike players will kind of go over it, because the Counter-Strike recoil pattern is very hard to master. So you'll see a lot of pro players, like I said, just you'll see them swiping all over the place. It feels funny at first when you first try it. You take that palm off the ground, kind of off the desk here, and you start to develop that whole arm movement back and forth. It'll really improve your aim.